Hey guys, Michael Neff, Director of Gear Sports, and this video is on grip roll. And grip roll is the second video in a series of videos on the shaft that we're doing. And grip roll is basically how much the grip is turning in plane, or twisting. And again, we're going to keep using Ricky and Jonas as a kind of an example. There's two players that totally roll the club differently. So again, we'll kind of take it to the peak where at this point, I'm going to try to get them in a similar position so you can kind of see. So let's take them, let's get them both to 200. So here's Ricky is rolling the grip at 200 degrees per second right here, and Jonas is at 200 degrees per second. So at this point, basically they have the same amount of grip roll. And you can go here and look at the graphs, and you'll see that Ricky has a much different pattern than does Jonas. Jonas is much more smoother, and Ricky's going to have a few peaks and valleys coming in here. And that's going to be basically a little bit of a function of how they move their body and how they obviously how much their wrist flexion extension is. Now, this is kind of an important distinction here. So if I go in line here and if I look at the wrist angles, now again, this is not the hand angles because the club can turn and does turn in their hands. But what I'm referring to is the grip on the wrist, or the marker on the wrist, and the grip shaft, or the marker on the shaft. So in this case, Jonas has much more flexion than does Ricky. So his left wrist is way more bowed than Ricky's is at this particular point. So Jonas goes into a lot of flexion here, and Ricky goes into flexion towards the impact here. These are two players that go pretty much into a lot of flexion coming into the ball. And as we separate them here, how that affects the grip roll is going to be important. Now, Ricky basically kind of stops turning his body. He gets that kind of famous chicken wing, and he raises the handle a lot. And when that happens, we're going to see a much faster closure rate. We're going to see that grip roll really increase. So if we get down to here, we can see that Ricky has 2,000 degrees per second grip roll, and Jonas has, let's get him to impact, 944 degrees per second. So literally Ricky is over doubling what Jonas does as far as rolling the grip. So this has a lot to do with how their bodies are moving, obviously, and how the club is unhinging and unwinding, and how they're squaring the club face. Again, they square the club face very differently. These are two players, very similar club head speed, not too, Ricky's a little faster, but boy, they square the club differently. And the lie angles are totally different. The angle of attack is different. The path is different. Everything's very different. So it's really important that you kind of understand this principle of like how much this player is rolling the grip. How is he closing the face? How is he squaring the club face? What is the path? What is his hand path doing that's causing him to do what they're doing? So they're going to need totally different golf clubs. They're going to need totally different shafts. If I'm teaching Ricky and I'm trying to get him more accurate, I'm going to probably want to slow down this closure rate piece, but that's probably going to mean that I got to kind of get the handle down a little bit, which is going to square the face up a little bit better and get a little more rotary. But if I wanted him to hit it harder and farther, I'd probably have him jump more and raise the handle more, and it would increase the rate. So understanding what you're doing and how you're going to create this roll is really critical. Generally speaking, what we see is the lower the roll, the lower the closure rate, the more accurate the players are. And I'm not quite done with my statistical analysis of this, which I'm hoping to have by the PGA show, but basically the more rotary players, or the kind of the guys that don't close the face as fast or have a lower grip roll, are generally speaking more accurate and have less club head speed than those who don't. So anyways, understanding this principle is really important. It's super important to understand what the grip is doing to the shaft, and what that shaft is then doing to the head, and then what the head is doing to the ball. This is where Gears separates himself. So while other products have grip roll, we have the shaft and the head to go along with that, so that we can give you all those metrics. Anyways, that is grip roll. So it's in degrees per second, and it basically, we only give you that information from transition. You'll see that on the backswing there's no data. We basically just give you that data from transition to impact. And really important stuff. I hope you enjoyed it.